Steve Kerr has been as outspoken as anyone in the sports world when it comes to gun violence. It's personal for him. His father, Malcolm, was the president of the American University of Beirut when he was shot and killed in 1984. And earlier today, Celtic star Jayson Tatum and head coach Ime Udoka, they also spoke about the situation.
It's sad that it's becoming something that we're like getting numb to. And it truly is. You know, what happened yesterday was sickening, and you know, obviously everybody sends their prayers and condolences to the families of those kids. But, you know, at some point, that does get tiring of, you know, going through the same process and the same result keeps happening over and over again. And, you know, I'm no politician and things like that, but I heard something yesterday that the guy, when he turned 18, first thing he did was bought a handgun and an assault rifle. You know, just if you don't know anything about laws, that just doesn't sound like something that should be, you know, that you should be able to do. So, you know, I am a basketball player. I don't have all the answers, but, you know, something does have to change in that regard. Because obviously things like this, unfortunately, continue to happen.
Yeah, that's the first thing you think about as a father, 10-year-old, fourth grader, and, you know, getting those calls or that frantic news, and just unimaginable, honestly, to find yourself in that situation as a parent that you're thinking of it. And your heart goes out to the whole community, the country in general, and the school, but, you know, it seems like these things continue to happen and not much of a wake-up call, and nothing really changes, and so that's the thing that stands out. It's like, what's next? You know, things happened last week in Buffalo, just one yesterday, and you know, the first thing you think of as a parent, but also what's going to happen, what's going to change, and that's the kind of underlying theme, and what's going to happen, what's going to change, and as of now, not much changes.
Udoka played and coached for the Spurs. San Antonio is about 80 miles from Uvalde, and Perk, you live in Texas. I know this hits close to home for you.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And Steve Kerr hit close to home to me. We talked about him losing his father to gun violence. I lost my mother at the age of 5 to gun violence. And so a lot of people don't realize until it happened to them, right? And then you go to Texas. I can't speak for the country, but I know I could speak for Texas, the state that I was raised in, a state that I reside in. And you look at the leadership, right? It starts with the leadership. You look at, you know, Greg Abbott, Ted Cruz, who's the leaders or so-called leaders who make these rules and things to that nature. And I go back to just thinking about the little thing of an ice storm. And I watched people who there was millions of people that struggled, didn't have power, didn't have water, didn't have food through an ice storm. And then you watch our senator who represents the state get on the plane with his family and go to Cancun. Okay, bypass all that. We here today, we're talking about this. I knew things were going to happen like this, and it's sad to say, for the simple fact that when they passed this law last September, I actually tweeted out and said I'm thinking about relocating my family, just because it's like the Wild Wild West in Texas, okay? It's so bad to the point that I have a 10-year-old son. He's in the 4th grade. Guess what? He's in homeschool because I don't feel safe with him or my other kids going to school, for the simple fact that it's too easy, not just for high schoolers and teenagers, but people in grade school to get to guns and bring them to school, and for tragedies like this to happen. So unless, you know, the leaders or quote-unquote leaders decide to put their pride and power aside and make the necessary adjustments to keep everybody safe, then look, we're not going to have change, and we're going to continue to be dealing with these type of situations. And it's hurtful because I just think about those kids that woke up, right, and didn't probably want to go to school, because you deal with that dealing with a 10-year-old and a 4th grader where they don't want to go to school, and the parents saying, you're going to school today. And now the parent have to live with that when they was only making the right choices. Or the kid that woke up and said he wanted his favorite cereal, or he wanted to put on these shoes, or he wanted to put on this outfit. Like, it's so wrong. And just me thinking about it, like the whole situation, my mind is so far for basketball right now, because when you have kids, you can relate to all those parents that lost their children yesterday.
And it was tough. I was texting Steve Kerr, you know, earlier today, and I just told him, you know, how proud I was of him. And it was mainly because, look, I know Steve's backstory, and my father passed away a few years ago from gun violence. And, you know, I just told him, like, I would have never been able to have those words. I would have never been able to sit up there and say that. And my mom was a school teacher. Your mom is a school teacher. Yeah. I have a 5- and 7-year-old. You say your parents are teachers. So it's like, you look at the most vulnerable of people, and they are doing it for a reason. They are going to the most vulnerable of places that will get the most amount of attention, because that's where these people are. And it's just very, very tough. And like I told Steve that I am so proud that he is one of the faces of our league, and that he uses his platform for positive change.
I feel what Jayson Tatum said about, I don't know what to do. I'm a private citizen, just like anyone who's watching right now. I feel helpless in a lot of ways. I'm not a mother, but I feel the pain of my friends and strangers who dropped their kids off at school today. My mom, you mentioned it, Richard, she's a teacher, and I worry about her. So here's what I did before walking on set today. I called my representative, Senator Alex Padilla, and I urged him, please support a passage of legislation that'll promote background checks for gun purchasers. I encourage you all to do the same.